About 6 months ago, my friend Glenda Anderson, who most of you know, she kind of finds things to do and says, come on, and I join her. And she said, we're going to do this thing called tapping. And you kind of hit your head, and you kind of hit your head, and then you hit yourself different places. And somehow that makes you emotionally better. I was going through a really hard time at the time, and I thought, okay, I'll just try just about anything. And I didn't have much belief in this. So we go into this little room, and Suzan, Dr. Suzan tells us we're going to feel better if we hit our head and hit our eyes and hit our shoulders and hit under here. And I say, yeah, right. And then, so we're doing these exercises, and suddenly, you know, I'm going through all this emotional stuff. I start feeling better. And she says, who's feeling better? I'm saying, how could this be? I mean, all I'm doing is hitting myself. It's crazy. But it was working. So I wanted to bring Dr. Suzan home to my family. So I asked her to speak before us, and we have only a couple of people, but it's just the right people who are here today, and then we're going to have Dr. Suzan back for the whole congregation. I don't know if you were here last week when I talked about Dr. Suzan, and Cheryl said, I saw at the ARE she's great, so you've got a treatment store. Let's welcome Dr. Suzan.
I really appreciate being here. I know it's a snow day today, so thank you for intrepid explorers that have come out. I think most people have some information that I handed out, but not everybody does. So there's a handout. I'm going to move that so that it actually picks up. There's a handout, a one-pager, and then a cheat sheet. Thanks, Sharon. So I'm going to give a little explanation to what Sharon actually described. I'll do a backstory. I was introduced to tapping, or what's emotional freedom techniques, in about 2000, 2001. I myself was going through a pretty difficult time, and my friend loaned me recordings for this thing called EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques. The founder is Gary Craig. So I'm going to give some backstory about the tapping itself, and in addition to telling you my story. And then we are going to do some tapping with ourselves. And for today, I got this hit last night. You all understand that, right? I got a download last night about how to use this today. So I'm really excited about that, because that hasn't happened for a while when it comes to specifically tapping. So tapping itself is a meridian-based kind of approach. So the meridians are, how many of you are familiar with meridians? I'm so glad I'm preaching to the choir here. So the meridians are energy pathways. So most of you know that. You know that it's all about energy anyway, right? What you read was about vibration. We know about vibration. We here know about vibration. That's energy. And early on, the Chinese, probably 5,000 or more years ago, we think it's at least 5,000, figured out that the body is made of energy, and not only is it made of energy, but the energy has pathways called meridians. And on those meridians, there are particular points. So, with the meridians, then, acupuncturists, with the needles, we're not using needles, you saw Sharon tapping, we're stimulating particular points on the body. And there are actually 9 points for this basic recipe that has evolved over time. When I first learned tapping, there were a whole lot more points, so I'm glad to be able to introduce it with fewer points today. And so what I want to do is to give you a sense of what the points are. We'll go over the points, what they correspond to in terms of emotions, some affirmations to help shift the imbalance that might be happening. And then what I did last night is I pulled some information from your mission statements and other pieces that are additional affirmations that you all could use specifically to what's going on. How does that sound? So the first is, let's look at the different points. The first point is called the karate chop, or the outside of the hand. And all we're doing is actually tapping. You can tap lightly or you can hold. It doesn't have to be a hard tap, but tap lightly or hold it. That's called the karate chop, or outside of the hand. So you've got cheat sheets, there's all kinds of information, right? So that's the karate chop, outside the hand. We start there. Okay, so that's usually the first point that we go to. So you can just go ahead and tap for a minute and notice anything that might shift or not as we're tapping. We're not even going to tap on anything general. Just imagine later on we'll tap on something specific. So that's the first point. Got that? The next point is called the eyebrow point. And that's the edge of the eyebrow at the bridge of the nose. So I've got my one finger on it, but usually when we usually tap with 2 fingers. So right at the edge of the eyebrow, not in the center of the head, because the meridians are mirror image on sides of the body. So this one is here, and it doesn't matter if you tap with the left or the right. Most people are right-handed, so I have this habit of starting with my left hand because we tend to mirror pretty easily. So if you're left-handed, you can start on that side of the body. It does not matter because it's all energy and it's all connected. So that's the next point is the eyebrow. Got that one? Yep. And you follow around that ocular bone to the side of the eye. That's what this point is called. And that's also on the bone. Yep. Good. The next point is under the eye. These, by the way, are what they're called. Under the eye, which is immediately on that bone just underneath the eye. So it's directly just under. Yeah. And if you're hitting them with 2 points, 2 fingers, you're doing good. Right. The next one is, guess what this one's called? Under the nose. And it's right in the center. Just under the nose, above the lip. The next one is, guess what this one's called? This is above the chin. So it's between, in that indentation between the chin and the lower lip. Yeah. Good. And Sharon was showing you about this one's called the collarbone. Now I usually take my necklace or scarf off, but it actually shows you about where you're going to tap. So it is about 4 inches below and 4 inches over. So under your collarbone, if you're hitting your collarbone, you're doing great. So you can tap like this. Frequently what I'll do is I'll actually tap with one hand. My fingers of one part are tapping on this side, and then my thumb is on this side. So when I tap like this, I'm making sure to tap both collarbones like that. Right? The next one, as Sharon was like, under the arm. This is a really interesting point. It is about 4 inches below the armpit. Right? 4 inches below the armpit, and a lot of us could cross over. That's easy. If you start tapping, you might actually find that very tender. So if you push on that point, you might find it tender. As I'm pushing on it right now, it's tender. Now, I frequently do what some of you are doing, and that is I'll tap just like this, right? Yeah, this will do it exactly. So that's the under the arm point. And the last one is the top of the head, and that's right in the center of the head, because this is one of the meridians, runs from here all the way under down our backs. So top of the head and kind of even with the ear, right? So stop and take a deep breath. Those are the points, right? Basic, that's really, really basic, right? The next, we'll start layering in. The next is to think of a particular issue, a concern that you have that has caused you stress or distress. So think of that particular issue. And you might want to write it down. If you don't write it down, at least make a really clear mental note of what the issue is. And on a scale from 0 to 10, where 10 is the most intense that it could be right now in this moment as you're thinking about the issue, what's the intensity? Make a mental note of that. It helps to write it down, but at least make a mental note of what the intensity is on that 0 to 10 scale. Again, all of this is in the handout, so you should have all of that as reference to take with you. So you got that in your mind's eye. So you've got a problem or issue, something that's causing some kind of stress or distress. You've got we also call it a SUD, a subjective unit of distress, from 0 to 10. And now we're going to tap on that. So I'm doing really basic, and then we're going to layer in here in a few minutes. Are you ready for this? So here's how it's going to look, very, very simply. You're going to start at the karate chop. At the karate chop, we have a statement of the issue. I have this problem or this issue. We're starting with what is real for you right now. So I'll comment on that here in a few minutes. And an affirmation. And the recommended affirmation, or the one that is typically used, is I deeply and completely love and accept myself. We're going to modify that because the topic for the presentation today is I'm tapping more into love, light, and joy, right? So I am open to more love, light, and joy. How does that sound? So that'll be our affirmation for today. So we start with, usually the setup statement is 3 times. And you can repeat after me. Even though I have this issue. Great. So remember to think about your issue. I ask for more love, light, and joy.
I ask for more love, light, and joy.
Right. Even though I have this issue.
Even though I have this issue.
I'm bringing in more love, light, and joy.
I'm bringing in more love, light, and joy.
Mm-hmm. Even though I have this issue.
Even though I have this issue.
All this stress.
All this stress.
I'm open to more love, light, and joy.
I'm opening to more love, light, and joy.
Great, I like that. So eyebrow. This stress.
This stress.
Right. Side of the eye. This issue.
This issue.
So remember, you're going to keep in mind your issue. Under the eye. This stress.
This stress.
Yeah. Under the eye. This issue.
This issue.
Yeah. Above the chin. This problem.
This problem.
Yeah, good. Collarbone. This issue.
This issue.
Mm-hmm. Under the arm. So cross over. Yeah. This problem.
This problem.
Top of the head. This issue.
This issue.
Yeah. And I'm going to do one more round for good measure. This problem.
This problem.
Yeah, good. You guys are doing right with the eyebrow point. Side of the eye. This issue.
This issue.
Yeah. Under the eye. This problem.
This problem.
Mm-hmm. Under the nose. This problem or issue. Yes.
This problem.
Yeah. Above the chin. This stress.
This stress.
Yeah. Collarbone. This problem.
This problem.
Yeah. Under the arm. This problem.
This problem.
Mm-hmm. Top of the head. This issue.
This issue.
All right. Stop and take a deep breath. And go back to that issue that you made a mental note of. And note what's happened to the intensity around it. Really get yourself back into that original problem or issue. And notice what's happened with it. And this is where Sharon said in that first meeting that we had, how many of you feel a little bit worse right now? We'll start with worse. Anybody feel any worse? So that's good news. Anybody just feel the same? That's good news. Anybody feel better? So everybody here says they feel better. If we were to continue to tap, and actually I'm going to suggest that you keep that original issue in mind as we tap through the next layer, okay? So what we just did is basic tapping. What you would do on your own is to actually name the problem or issue. So I said problem or issue or stress, and you would actually name it. So here's how it would look. I was a little nervous coming over here. Even though I've done all this tapping over the years, I'm right now in the middle of a 30-day tapping challenge, so tapping every single day. I still get nervous when I present. I think being nervous is okay, but it's still there, right? So here's how it would look if I were just tapping on that particular issue. And I'm going to actually say what was going through my head as well as some of the emotions. So even though I feel so nervous about presenting, you can tap along with me, you don't have to say it. Even though I feel so nervous about this presentation, I don't know how it's going to look. I don't even know what I'm really going to say. Yes, I do. I'm tapping even more into love, light, and joy. Even though I feel this nervousness about presenting today, I feel it running right through my body. I know I'm going to tap even more into love, light, and joy. Even though I feel all this nervousness, I'm wondering, I don't know how it's all going to go. You know, I could really mess up, because those are the thoughts that are going through my head. Maybe I could just tap more into love, light, and joy anyway. So then I go to the eyebrow. All these nervous feelings, side of the eye, all these nervous thoughts, under the eye, all this nervous feeling. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach, under the nose, all these nervous thoughts. What are they going to think? Above the chin. I know this feels a little crazy to teach people this tapping, but I think this might be the group that will figure it out better than others. I'm going to go to the cop. I'm still nervous, and maybe it's okay to be nervous. Under the arm, so nervous. I got nervous in other things, and they've gone well anyway. Right? So I'm still nervous with all these nervous thoughts and feelings. I can feel it zinging through my body. Right? All this nervous energy. But you know, I'm also excited. And what I also know is that nervousness and excitement isn't distinguished in my body. My body doesn't know the difference between nervousness and excitement. It shows up the same way. So maybe I'm really excited. I'm both excited and nervous, and that's okay. All this nervous energy, maybe I can put it to use. All right, so we're going to stop and take a deep breath. All right, that was for me. Thanks for tapping with me on that. I appreciate it. But you see how that goes? I just kind of talked myself through the issue of feeling nervous about this presentation. So the more specific you can get, the better. All right. So you're ready for the next layer? What we know about the meridians is that they also hold balance and imbalance. So when the energy system is disrupted by stress, then the source of that disruption is actually the energy system. And our emotions get out of balance as well. So I did a little bit of research, and I plugged in then the points that were tap on and the actual feelings that correspond with the points. So we're going to tap that. We'll just do a round of that. We'll just do one. And then we'll layer in some affirmations that help to rebalance those emotions. And then the next round we'll layer in ones that are specific for you all. How does that sound? All right, I have to put my glasses on and that's actually this handout that I gave you. And I'm going to apologize as I was tapping. I created it, and some of the verbiage in here is because I cut and pasted. So if you notice that there's some, this is the teacher in me. I was a university professor for a while, and so the editor comes out and I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't flow very well. So just know that it's the flavor that we're after for this. All right. So you ready? We're going to start the karate chop. Even though I might be feeling stuck, divided, or frozen, and you can repeat after me on this one. Even though I might be feeling stuck, divided, or frozen.
Even though I might be feeling stuck, divided, or
frozen. Unable to let go of old ways.
Unable to let go of old ways.
Maybe even resistant to change.
Maybe even resistant to change.
I welcome in more love, light, and joy.
I welcome in more love, light, and joy.
Even though I might be feeling stuck, divided, or frozen.
Even though I might be feeling stuck, divided, or frozen.
Unable to let go of the old way of being.
Unable to let go of the old way of being.
And maybe even resistant to change.
And maybe even resistant to change.
I'm opening more and more to love, light, and joy.
I'm opening more and more to love, light, and joy.
All right, so we're going to do the eyebrow. Feeling fear, anxiety.
Feeling fear, anxiety.
Side of the eye. Feeling rage, anger, resentment.
Feeling rage, anger, resentment.
Under the eye. All this worry or fear, emptiness.
All worry, fear, emptiness.
And disappointment.
And disappointment.
Under the nose. All this embarrassment, shame, and guilt. Yeah. Somebody's already reading. That's good. Powerless and fear of failure. You got this. Right. Above the chin. This feeling vulnerable. Collarbone. This feeling of fear, anxiety, shame, and isolation.
This feeling of fear, anxiety, shame, and isolation.
Under the arm. This inability to integrate. The self-doubt. And it's not fair. Right, top of the head. This fear, this being afraid, feeling weak.
This fear, being afraid, feeling weak.
Right, so stop, take a deep breath. And I'm just doing that so I can change the page here. Right. So remember to keep in mind the issue that you started with, because that's what we're working on, right? So we're going back to the karate chop with some affirmations. The good news about affirmations is, about tapping, is that you can clear the old stuff out. So do you hear the rounds that we've been doing? It's clearing the old stuff out, the junk that creates stress. And the great thing is that we can also tap in what we want to embody even more. That's what we're going to do the next couple of rounds. That's the purpose of these affirmations. We'll start with a karate chop, even though normally when we're tapping in something, we skip the karate chop. This just means it's an important thing that we're talking about right now. All right, so normally at the karate chop, we're clearing any resistance. Did you hear that with the last round? The karate chop is about resistance, about not really wanting to get rid of the old way of being, because resistance is often a part of our moving forward. That's usually the first step when we move forward. We hit this wall of resistance. So if you've already gotten to a point where, did you hear when I was tapping for me, I was already starting to shift of, well, gosh, I'm actually also excited. That organically, naturally happens when we start clearing what is real, what we're in. So you might then just skip the karate chop, but if there's any more resistance, we might as well clear that, right? So that's where we'll start with the karate chop. Normally, though, when we're just tapping in the good stuff, we'll just start tapping on the points on the body, right? But we're going to do one last, a last of the karate chop because I worked it out on here. And actually, this is where the typo comes in. On the handout it says, even though a part of me may feel decisive, it really is indecisive because we're going with the resistance to decisiveness. And we're going to keep tapping in more love, light, and joy. All right, so you ready? At the karate chop. Even though a part of me may feel indecisive, I know what I want. And I'm learning to be decisive about this.
I'm willing to be decisive about it.
Even though a part of me may feel indecisive,
Even though a part of me may feel indecisive.
I'm learning to know what I want.
I'm learning to know what I want.
And I feel decisive about it now.
And I feel decisive about it now.
Right, so eyebrow. I'm tapping in hope. I am hopeful.
I am hopeful.
Side of the eye. I'm tapping into tolerance and kindness.
I'm tapping into tolerance and kindness.
I reach out with kindness and forgiveness. Under the eye, I'm tapping into more trust.
I'm tapping into more trust.
I let go of worry. I trust the process and the universe.
I trust the process and the universe.
Under the nose, I'm tapping into strength.
I'm tapping into strength.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Above the chin, I'm tapping into feeling more centered and secure.
I'm tapping into feelings of centeredness.
I am clear, centered, and secure.
I am clear, centered, and secure.
I'm confident now.
I'm confident now.
Collarbone, I'm tapping into gentleness with myself.
I'm tapping into gentleness with myself.
I am gentle with myself.
I am gentle with myself.
I step out gently.
I step out.
Under the arm, I'm tapping into fairness toward myself.
I'm tapping into fairness.
Metabolizing and integrating easily.
Metabolizing into fairness.
I feel compassion for myself.
I feel compassion for myself.
Ready for the last one? Feeling stronger and stronger.
Feeling stronger and stronger.
I stand tall.
I stand tall.
All right, so stop and take a deep breath. How's everybody doing? Better and better? Okay. I am feeling really jacked right now. I might float out here. All right, so the last part is the tapping into some of the principles of the fellowship. So you ready for that? We're going to tap those in to our whole system. So, at the karate chop, even though a part of me may feel resistant, I am committed to being a good steward
I am committed to being a good steward
of the creative energy
of the creative energy
that flows through me,
that flows through me,
manifesting as spiritual, financial, and other resources.
manifesting as spiritual.
You hear the principles, right? Are you hearing that? Even though a part of me might feel resistant.
Even though part of me may feel resistant.
Yeah. I'm committed to being a good steward
I'm committed to being a good steward
of the creative energy
of the creative energy
that flows through me,
that flows through me,
manifesting as spiritual, financial, and other resources.
managing as spiritual, financial, and other resources.
Right. So, eyebrow. I believe
I believe
that love heals
that love heals
and can repair both mind and body.
and can repair both mind and body.
Side of the eye. More and more,
More and more,
I'm tapping into love, light, and joy.
I'm tapping into love, light, and joy.
Under the eye, I'm striving to become
I'm striving to become
the perfect love
the perfect love
which casts out fear.
which casts out fear.
Yeah. Under the nose, I open to the love
I open to the love
that is key to communication
that is key to communication
with God, me, and all others.
with God, me, and all of us.
Above the chin. More and more,
More and more,
I'm tapping into
I'm tapping into
love, light, and joy.
love, light, and joy.
Collarbone. Even though I sometimes might forget,
Even though I might sometimes forget,
a part of me knows that love shines out
that love shines out
in the darkness
in the darkness
as the source of life and awareness.
as the source of life and awareness.
Under the arm, more and more, I'm tapping into love, light, and joy.
Love, light, and joy.
Right, top of the head. I honor the presence of God. What's going on for you all now?
Vibrating.
Me too. I'm zinging. I don't know. Right? So, I wanted to make this a manageable chunk for this service. And what we've learned so far is about the tapping points. Right? We went over the points, and then we did really basic tapping. Remember I said this issue, the problem. And then we added another layer of just tapping on the emotions related to the particular points. That's not a requirement. It's something that I actually added to, that's my special addition to tapping. And then we added the affirmations that go along with balancing the emotions to that point. And then for today, ones that are really special to this group. So you have a template here that you can use later. And so you've got the handout, you've got information, you've got a cheat sheet. You know, the little square card is something for you to carry with you. So you can do tapping on anything. Anything. Gary Craig says, try it on everything. If you've got a little hurt in your pinky, you know, you can tap on that. If you've got, or your thumb. If you are stressed out in traffic, you can tap on that. If your emotions have popped up, and by the way, there's research that says any physical pain, you all know this, physical pain has at least 80% of all physical pain is emotional or psychological stuff that's going along with it. So you can reduce quite a bit of physical pain when you're tapping on the emotional or psychological aspects of the physical pain. The body knows how to heal itself, so I use some of those phrases as I'm tapping on any kind of physical pain as well. I love the application of tapping to spiritual issues. And you can see, I think, how you all can apply that to whatever might be going on. I will say that here's what often happens when folks learn about tapping first. The day or two after, they're like, wow, that was great. And then they say, I don't really know what to say. The great thing is that you can just say what's going on. Tell the truth. Tap on what's going on in the moment, because that's where you have to start. So many in the spiritual communities want to start 6 steps ahead of where you are right now. So start with where you are right now. And then what happens is we organically change because the energy starts to shift. We don't have to force it. The energy helps to carry us toward these spiritual principles that we're striving to live anyway. So start with the truth, even if it's negative. Some people say, well, I don't want to keep tapping in the negative. Well, you don't have to, because what happens organically is that the energy starts to shift your thoughts and feelings. Notice that. Start tapping that in. The next thing that people say is, well, I really don't want to tap all the negative. But you heard what I said. We have to start with where we are. And if we're feeling negative, we have all those negative thoughts, the more we try and shove them away, the more they want to pop back up. So we have to start with acknowledging wherever it is that we are so that we can begin to shift. I think tapping has helped me, not I think, I know, has helped me and has helped other people to shift rapidly. We don't have to stay stuck in whatever's going on. So, I love being a resource. Love being a resource. So if you have questions about tapping, you're absolutely welcome to get in touch with me. I also have, and this is where Sharon and I met, I have an EFT, a tapping meetup group. We're going to every other month now. The next one is January 21st. It's in my office in Norfolk. Again, you can just get in touch with me to find out more. Yeah?
Yes. Would you comment, please, on what you have pondered about the human aura and how tapping affects the aura?
So I haven't really specifically thought about the aura, but I will say this, that because this is about energy, we're tapping on meridians. And you all know, I think you all know that our energy systems are interconnected. So the meridians are one energy system, the chakras are another energy system, and the aura is a third energy system in our bodies, right? We've got those, at least those three. I think there's a fourth one that we're manifesting now. It's the crystalline. I won't go into that, but so it's all interconnected. It's all energy. So if we're, all right, so here's what I do get. What happens for me as I'm tapping is that I'm creating a clear channel. I'm reconnecting more clearly, like fiber optics clear, between with me and Source. And the clearer that channel, the more expansive it is, and it includes not just meridians, not just the chakras, but also the biofield. I have a sense that my whole field clears. I get more information, clear information drops in as I'm tapping than in any other form that I'm working with people. So that's an indirect answer to your question, but did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes?
Edward Casey was an early advocate of tapping in the sense that he used to say that we should thump the thumbs.
Right, and that's actually a point that frequently people will tap. Mm-hmm. The points that I showed you today are the ones that I have training in EFT as level 1 certification. But if you take a look at traditional Chinese medicine and you take a look at a tapping, acupuncture doll, you'll see hundreds of points on that doll. And certainly, so this is vibration, right? Yeah. This is vibration. Yeah. So he got vibration. Absolutely. So there are people, right, there are people that will use the thymus thump along with EFT. So I showed you the basic points. The other ones, you know, this is another point that people will tap. There's another one right here that people will tap, just right, and this really is very tender. It's directly under the collarbones and on the ribs. Boy, that's another one that's very, very tender. So that's another one that is a part of Emotional Freedom Techniques with an S. I'm just showing you one. And then you know that there are meridians that are on the side of the body. So some people tap here, some people tap here. So just know that different people have a different twist and will add different points. So absolutely, if that's something that you automatically do, add it. Why not? It's not going to hurt. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Yes?
I do. Do you have like 3 layers or rounds that you go through with this? Thank
you for asking that. Normally, when I'm working with people individually, we'll tap and I'll be able to see how people change. So we'll stay with what is happening, and then as people are changing, and people correct me if I say, well, I'm feeling this way, they'll say, no, I'm really feeling that way. Well, all right, great, we'll go with that. Because sometimes I'm just kind of making up what I think is going on for that person. They verbalize different things. But we'll tap a couple of rounds, stop, take deep breath, reassess, 0 to 10. And what we're aiming for is for it to go down. And what we're really aiming for is for a 0. So we'll keep tapping until we run out of time, or we've gotten to a 0. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it's easier, let's see. Sometimes when people come into my office, they'll come in really upset about something. And if we'll do that 0 to 10 scale, they'll say, well, I'm at an 8 or 9. 8 or 9, it's hard to think clearly. It's hard to solve problems clearly. But in just a couple of rounds, we can get people to a 4 or 5 or 6. And we have greater access to more information at a 4 or 5 than we do at an 8 or 9. Does that make sense to you all? And so as we clear the intensity, then people organically, naturally have greater access to what's really going on. and also to what they can do next. So we'll tap until they have access to that. And more, I've also been recording our tapping in sessions so that people then can take it home with them and tap along later on. I just think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's a technique. I'm just one of those that is open to learning. I love learning new things. And I'm also the kind of person, I've got a creative spirit and a creative mind. And so I learn something, and I'm like, oh, that's really great. And then I learn something else, and I'm like, oh, that's really great. And I'll learn something else, and that's really great. So I'm moving from one thing to another. But I have to tell you, it was 2000 that I started learning tapping. And that has been the major thread through my life and my work with folks. I have seen more shift in people using tapping than the traditional approaches that I use from a master's and a doctoral program combined. So I keep using it, and I love introducing it to people, which is why I have the meetup group, which is close to free as I can get. You can come to the very first one free, and then if you want to keep coming, it's close to $16 year membership that helps to pay for the meetup fees. So pretty great stuff, if you ask me. So thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I love being a resource, so you're welcome to get in touch with me. So here's what I've been ending my tapping videos with. Happy tapping. Thank you.
Thank you.